Discapacidad Televisión.
¡Hola mundo!
Primer canal de televisión dedicado al colectivo de personas con discapacidad desde 2006.
Hola, bienvenidos a Discapacidad Televisión. Recuerda suscribirte para no perderte los últimos estrenos y programas en vivo. Danos un me gusta, y así nos ayudarás a conocerte mejor, y saber qué programación es tu favorita. Por favor, no te olvides de compartir, así, más personas podrán disfrutar de Discapacidad Televisión y toda su programación. Muchas gracias.
En el nuevo paradigma de la educación inclusiva no cabe la educación especial. Las estructuras educativas especiales han de migrar en un periodo razonable, no se puede hacer todo de la noche a la mañana, hacia estructuras y prácticas plenamente inclusivas para todo el alumnado, sin distinciones ni acepciones.
La Convención Internacional sobre los Derechos de las Personas con Discapacidad de la ONU de 2006 marca el punto de partida de la polémica por el cierre de los colegios de educación especial. El valor de la inclusión educativa es incuestionable y desde la educación especial se desarrollan multitud de procesos innovadores para asegurar esas oportunidades para alumnos con discapacidad.
No es admisible por más tiempo la segregación educativa por razón de discapacidad. Es un imperativo jurídico internacional de derechos humanos comprometido por España con la comunidad internacional y con el sistema de Naciones Unidas. En el caso de la discapacidad parece que forma parte del paisaje, que se acepta con naturalidad y que no provoca especial escándalo, pero no deja de ser una segregación por razón de una diferencia. Se trata de una violación grave de derechos humanos. Proponemos que en el plazo de 5 años desde que se adopte tendríamos ese lapso para migrar de estructuras no inclusivas a estructuras inclusivas. Que no se creen ni se pongan en servicio más centros de educación especial y que no se admitan más alumnos con discapacidad en los centros especiales, deberían ser declarados a extinguir, que subsistan hasta su completa desaparición.
Discapacidad Televisión.
¡Hola mundo!
Primer canal de televisión dedicado al colectivo de personas con discapacidad desde 2006. A continuación, Footless UU, más allá de una amputación. Presenta UU BECKWITH. Características de este programa. Audio en inglés, subtítulos en castellano.
Hello there, my beautiful, lovely internet friends. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my little recovery nest. This is where I have been perched for like 2.5 weeks. The amount of blankets and pillows I have amassed is absolutely delightful. I wanted to give you a surgical update. I had TMR surgery on my residual limb, but it was a pretty extensive one. I'll link the video down below that talks about why I had to have the surgery and what it was. What it ended up being was horrific, and I didn't really want to come on here and say that because I'm bored of there not being like good news, but it's what life is right now. So I just wanted to give kind of a realistic look into what the last few weeks have been like, how traumatizing our medical system can be, and also just say, hey, I've missed you guys. So Mr. McNubbins here still cannot bend. It has been 3.5 weeks since I've been able to bend my knee. So the reason that I can't bend this is because if I did, it would like pull the nerves out of place, and it's very important that they heal into the muscles where they've been placed. Hence this situation. However, I was cleared to remove it if I keep my legs straight to be able to like shower and whatnot. And oh my God, it feels amazing to be able to take it off, especially with all the skin issues that were going on under there. You guys know I really didn't want to have this surgery, but I didn't feel like I had other viable options if I wanted to walk again or be in less pain. So I did it. And I have to say, this is the only surgery I have ever regretted. Don't love using that word a whole lot. And it's too soon to say that because I am nowhere near being able to see if there are actual benefits that made it worth it. If it's life-changing, and there are, I'll be very grateful for this, but this was a horrific time all around. So I went in for surgery, and my understanding is that they would at least keep me overnight, you know, just in case it's a good idea. Kind of at most, realistically, like 2 days, because I talked to my doctor day of surgery. But they want to get you home as quickly as possible. As long as pain is under control, there's no reason you have to stay there. I ended up being there 6.5 days, which felt like a very long time to be in the hospital because of the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life and a horrific allergic reaction and a number of medical mistakes that took days for them to figure out. When I say that, I want to roll my eyes at myself because the amount of things that have always gone wrong when it comes to me and surgery blows my mind. I don't understand why my body does what it does, and also, I hate sounding all like victim-y, but you know what? Maybe I'm feeling a little victim-y as a mindset, which I'll work through, but the shit that isn't supposed to happen, happens. Hey friends, as I was editing this video, I realized I didn't really clarify something. When I'm talking about the issues that I had in the hospital and like doctors and nurses and all of that, please understand that I know the issue actually is with the system itself. I'm going to talk about where I was like forgotten about for hours. That was not cool. Like that was an actual human mistake. But aside from that, everything else I'm discussing really is a systemic issue. And I did receive a lot of really amazing care, specifically from the nurses who worked really hard to try to take care of me and like be there for me. And I'm so grateful for them. But our system is broken, and I felt the pain of that. So that is primarily what I'm talking about, not the individuals involved. So I got out of surgery, and the first day was painful, but okay, I was expecting that. But then it was like really painful, and that kept mounting and growing. It was incredibly difficult to get any kind of pain under control, even like stacking IV drugs with a lot of oral meds at the very most of what my body could handle pain medication wise without like literally like having my respiratory system have problems. But something felt wrong. I have had probably about 20 surgeries grand total in my life. I'm very familiar with post-surgical pain. This did not feel right. Like I've literally had my leg chopped off twice, and this was worse. And I kept telling them that. And specifically what it felt like was that like my leg was burning off. And as I said that, I imagined, okay, that's probably phantom pain. They like spliced and cut and really like messed up the nerves as part of the surgery. And burning is often associated with nerve pain, but it was so extreme. And so I, kept bringing this up. It feels like my leg has been cut off again. It feels like my entire leg is on fire. Like it feels like my skin is literally burning off. But the weird thing was phantom pain is where you no longer have a body part, right? But I was feeling this pain all the way up my leg. Very important fact. Let's put a pin in that for just a moment. During surgery, my doctor put in a pain pump into my leg with a drain where it's basically injecting medicine into those nerve areas at a consistent rate. It really should numb it out. You shouldn't feel a whole lot. And I was feeling a whole lot. And so my surgeon came by a couple days later to check on me and discovered that they never turned it on. Like I'm there in a lot of pain. I've seen other doctors. I've seen, nurses every shift. I've talked to them about this, and it was never activated. And all of these people actually like looked at it. Like, yeah, you gotta check everything when you're coming in to check on the patient. They looked at it, and no one knew that it wasn't activated because it has to be like to your skin, because there's a certain part, very simple, just needs to be taped to your skin, and it never was. So I was never getting that relief because they missed it. But in almost a weird way, that ended up, I don't want to say this was a blessing in disguise, but it did lead to a major discovery, because when my surgeon came in and was like, they never turned it on, put some stuff on my skin to, sanitize it, taped everything down, okay, we're good to go. And then that area of my skin that he taped down started just like blowing up, swelling, red, bumps, rash, looked like shingles, like pussy, just gross, just real gross and painful and a little bit itchy. And it was like growing by the hour. And the more that I felt it, it was like on my hip here, the more I was like, this is what my leg feels like is happening to it, except on a way larger scale. And because I've had issues with having an allergic reaction to a different ingredient in surgery before, kind of had this light bulb moment of like, I think something's actually wrong. And so I was maybe not the best patient, but I started kind of poking around and time trying to look as far as I could underneath the bandages without disturbing anything and saw these like welts. Called my nurse in, she was obviously concerned, and they were like, yeah, we should absolutely take this off, take a look at what's going on, but we're not gonna be able to do that at least until tomorrow, because my surgeon, who's very particular with his work, I don't say that in a bad way, he is a stickler for details, always likes to be hands-on and do everything himself with his patients. But at this point, I was in so much pain and genuinely freaked out that even though they were like, you need to wait, I wasn't willing to. And so I ended up making a lot of calls, calling his office, and he was kind enough to come over within a couple hours because his office was literally across the street. We took it off, and what was underneath was horrifying. I think I'm gonna do a totally different video on that in particular because I don't want to show any of the imagery of that whole process in this video if you are a squeamish person, and also it's like a story in and of itself. But my skin had been basically literally burning off. Medically descriptive words for the next few minutes. Like skin hanging off, massive blisters and welts, and it was so gross. Turns out I had a severe allergic reaction to something else that they use commonly in surgery. Them using it was not their fault, but I guess these allergies can kind of develop over time, and my body just wasn't having it. And what happened was like awful. It was disgusting to look at, and I'm not that squeamish, and I was still like, that's on my skin. Oh my God. So they began taking care of that, treating that, and just trying to get pain to a place where I could get home. I'm really frustrated, guys, so I'm gonna share some of that frustration in case you have never had the pleasure of being stuck in a hospital as a patient who is pretty powerless. So we spent days, like I said, getting off of IV meds, which are very strong, fast, effective, to oral meds so I could go home because I can't go home with IV meds. There was a lot of mistakes that happened in that process. I was forgotten about for 5 hours after they took me off IV meds and not given any kind of pain relief, and I couldn't get people in. Like, I kept calling and the nurses were like, oh yeah, we'll get there. I just wouldn't hear anything for hours and I couldn't get up, and I got to the point where I was like screaming in pain, like hyperventilating, like couldn't breathe, and I was just like left like that for a long time. My doctor ended up being the one who found me because he came by to do like rounds at the end of his day, and he was obviously very frustrated by the lack of care that I had been provided. This kind of plays off of years of painful and borderline traumatic sort of experiences in the hospital, in our medical system. But when you cannot rely on people or the system to help you, and you are literally held prisoner by it, that feeling of helplessness is awful, and it's something I don't want to think about. And that same situation ended up repeating itself where I was not cared for and got to an unmanageable level of pain. I think the only time I've ever said that like pain was a 10 out of 10 for me was when I woke up from my amputation surgery and the nerve block didn't work, so I like felt everything. This was that level where I was fully awake for it. Kind of getting back to the point, we get past that and we start trying to get me home. Turns out the nerve block that hadn't been turned on, once they got it working, unfortunately it didn't work because where it was placed in my leg, it just wasn't numbing what it should have been numbing. I've had that experience a number of times. Sometimes getting proper placement for these nerve blocks is difficult, so they just took it out because it was not helping. So we get to the part of the story where I want to burn down our system and start over. I got to the hospital on Friday and it's like Wednesday by this point. I am ready to go home. And I finally got to a place where we like had medications that were all oral that I could survive. Like the pain was still really bad, but I'm like, it's worth it to get home. And it was like, okay, great. This is amazing. We've been trying to work on this for days. We're finally there. So then they order those medications and have them delivered to my room so I can take them home. And I take a look at it and it is less than half of the dose that I was like barely okay on of one pain medication, and the other pain medication was simply not included at all. So obviously being a little bit concerned about pain management, if things are cut in half and then some, I brought this up to the nurse practitioner and the nurses, and what they told me was, yeah, pharmacies just actually won't write prescriptions for that amount of medication, so, it's difficult. These are the people that spent days making sure that I could be on oral medications so I could go home, full well knowing that I was not going to be able to have those medications. So I am sent away from the hospital, having to have everything cut. And the issue of pain medication and management in America is a very complicated one that is a different discussion for a different video. But it's just idiotic to me, because as I am in a lot of pain, I'm having to try to figure out how I am going to get this pain managed and survive. Was able to figure some stuff out and got through. But one of the sweetest things ever, my good friends had me come from the hospital home with them. So I wasn't going to be alone at home. My parents were leaving for Ireland. I've always had my parents around for like major surgeries. And so my friends took care of me like I was family, and so very grateful for them. And so many friends have just gone above and beyond to bring me food, show up, take my dog out for a walk, do literally whatever I needed. And I am so grateful because this time around, like I said, it's the first time I went through a major surgery where I wasn't in my parents' household as a kid, or, you know, I was married for years, so it was with my partner there. The normal things that I relied on were gone. And so facing this and realizing I literally cannot get through this without asking for help from the people who want to help me. It has been a real exercise in allowing people to show up. It's been a crash course in recognizing I am not capable of some things. I need help, and I need to ask for that help and also accept that help. And I cannot thank everyone enough. Also to all of you, beautiful internet friends, everyone has been so supportive and sweet and kind and sending messages. Thank you. During all this downtime, I decided to try to learn a new skill so I would have something to focus on. So I started learning Procreate on the iPad to do digital art. Here are some of the things that I was working on through just straight tutorials off of YouTube. It was really good to like do one of these a day and kind of feel like I was learning something new. I've done physical art my whole life, but I've always been like digital art, no. But it's great. It was super fun. And also I have watched 8 seasons of Suits. 8 seasons of Suits. So many Suits. I don't even know why I picked that show because I've never had any interest in it. But as I was in my super drugged out haze at my best friend's house recovering, I was like, I saw it pop up on Peacock and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch every episode of that show in the next few weeks, and I'm almost there. Also, a healthy dose of trashy reality TV, which has been rotting my brain, which honestly works for me right now. So in a couple days, it will be 1 month since the surgery. Then shall begin the process of slowly being able to, you know, bend my knee, get range of motion back, start building up some strength, be able to use my iWalk crutch again weeks later, start using my prosthetic leg, see how it feels. The reality is, because of the complexity of the surgery and everything that they did and working on nerves, we won't really know if it worked for like 4 to 6 months. At that point, it's kind of a guarantee that pain will be worse up until that point, and hopefully will start easing off and the surgical pain will go away, and hopefully additionally the pain that I was dealing with, which was the reason I had to have the surgery in the first place, will be better, fixed, resolved. You know, just even I would be thrilled if there was even a bit of a reduction at a minimum. As long as it doesn't stay worse, I will be grateful for that. I'm at the place now where I'm very slowly trying to get back to work. It's been challenging, but good to like feel a sense of accomplishment of being like, you know what, at least I went through my emails today. That's enough. I've been able to get out and about a little bit, you know, see some people, do some things. I went to the gym yesterday because I've been dealing with insomnia, and I was like, maybe if I exhaust myself, I'll just pass out. It actually kind of did work. Slept for like 3 hours. So it's gonna be a long road until kind of a sense of normalcy comes back, but I'm glad to be this far along in recovery. Things don't always go according to plan, right? And I knew that, and that was one of the reasons I was really scared to have this done and didn't want to have it done, because shit happens and you can't control it. You can control how you respond to it. That's about it. This is a little bit more of a longer video than I intended it for it to be, so thank you for listening to me. I think I'm gonna end it there for now.
And by the way, I think people in wheelchairs will back me up on this.
Hi, I'm a part-time wheelchair user. You can see it right back there. And a full-time below-knee amputee, and I'm here to tell you, no we don't. Hello there, my beautiful, lovely internet friends. When I make response videos to anything controversial or in the media, I've always made a point to be very intentional in like education and nuance and addressing ignorance with compassion, and I will be entirely honest, I have no desire to actually filter myself in today's video, and I think you may understand why as we get into it. I was scrolling through Instagram the other day, and I came across a video from the one and only Candace Owens.
Because you need God.
You know her, maybe you love her. She's never been my cup of tea, but the comments that she said about a woman in a wheelchair in an underwear ad were appalling. And I actually filmed a whole video just kind of giving my thoughts and responding to what she said. But then I did a little bit more research, because that's a good idea. And I found out that a day ago, from the time that I'm filming this, she actually responded to all of the backlash.
First and foremost, let's debunk the idea that I am an ableist.
And oh boy, her response is fascinating as well. So let's dive in. Roll the clip. I say to myself, because I am the person who will be editing this.
She's in a wheelchair. She's in a wheelchair, and it says Skims, made for everybody, available now. Really? That's all I'm gonna say is really. I don't really understand how far we're gonna take this inclusivity thing. I really don't get it. Look, I assumed that people that were in wheelchairs also have to buy bras and have to buy underwear. I didn't know that we needed to see that in our face. I didn't know that now we're gonna have to look forward to campaigns where women that are in wheelchairs are now wearing bras and underwears, because we as a society just cannot get to the bottom of our ridiculousness.
Having to see women in wheelchairs on your feed, ridiculous is indeed the only word that I can think of. How far are we gonna take this inclusivity bullshit? You know, honestly. So let's break it down, shall we? In the original video, she talks about how utterly ridiculous
We are being ridiculous, America.
this inclusivity thing is. It has gone too far. So Candace is not a fan of the fact that a woman in a wheelchair sitting down is in an underwear campaign. Put a pin in the whole underwear campaign thing, we'll circle back around to that later. It's actually an adaptive clothing line made by not a great person, but that's beside the point of this video. Adaptive clothing is a very beneficial thing for a lot of people. In fact, 26%, fun fact, of the US population is disabled in some way, meaning that accessible things for people has a huge impact on our society. So in her response, Candace said that anyone accusing her of being ableist, obviously she's not.
First and foremost, let's debunk the idea that I am an ableist.
So I want to draw some attention to this particular comment. Look, I assumed people in wheelchairs had to buy bras and underwear. I didn't know that we needed to see it in our face and look forward to campaigns where women that are in wheelchairs are now wearing bras and underwear because as a society, we cannot get to the bottom of our ridiculousness. That's what it is. Ridiculousness. My puppies have left because they do not like this video. I understand. She ends it by saying that I think people in wheelchairs will back me up on this.
And by the way, I think people in wheelchairs will back me up on this.
I don't speak for the whole community, but no, we don't. So do you remember a thing called ugly laws? These are a thing that used to exist back in the day. In fact, not far enough back in the day to be comfortable. But basically, they were a big fan of not allowing people who were different out of the house. Like, okay, they have a right to life, but we just don't want to see them. That's a very rudimentary explanation, but check out a link down below for more information. That is genuinely what she is advocating for. She knows that women in wheelchairs need to buy bras and underwear, but oh my God, we don't need to see them. We don't need to see it. And the fact that a woman being in a wheelchair modeling something is newsworthy. First and foremost, you haven't been following along with the world then apparently, because including disabled models in advertising is becoming an increasingly common thing. Personally, I think it's a good thing because I think representation is cool. There's a lot of benefits to it. Candace Owens does not agree with me on that.
Representation, here you go, ready? Hear me out, does not matter.
And we will agree to disagree. But the thing that really pissed me off here is that she does not say, and she dances around the point of what I believe she actually means. She never comes out and says, I don't want to see women in wheelchairs in underwear campaigns. Icky, no, gross, we don't want that. She never says that. She insinuates it. She leaves you to fill in the blanks so that she does not clearly say something that is pretty far over the line of socially acceptable. And this is what so many people do when discriminating against any group of people. You don't say it. You don't say, I don't want to see disabled people. You just call it ridiculousness when you see one in an ad campaign. And of like all of the things that could be labeled too far with inclusivity, when a massive portion of the United States is disabled and a large amount of people use wheelchairs both part-time and full-time, that's really what you think is ridiculous? Okay, I'm sorry that your skin is as thick as it appears to be, and I know that you are a big fan of telling everybody else that they have thin skin and they need God and they need to find values and morals. But what the hell? This is the thing that was so utterly ridiculous when all you're looking at is a model sitting down instead of standing up modeling underwear. It's not difficult to decipher what you are actually trying to say there, which, in my personal opinion, is something along the lines of, yes, we have a right to exist and pursue life, I just don't want to see you. The day before I'm filming this, she had a response video that I was interested to watch. Hey, we all say stuff, we all make mistakes, there's room for growth, absolutely. In the original video, she had said, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Educate me in the comments.
And if I'm wrong, again, educate me. Today, I just want to be educated in the comments.
And being pretty familiar with the kind of content that she creates, it's hard for me to take this seriously because I don't really think that she is particularly interested in learning. I think that her content is designed for a specific audience to evoke a specific response. I very much hope that I'm wrong there. But in her response, she made it very clear that disabled models, like allowing disabled people to model, is patronizing. Patronizing? Are both ways of saying that word correct? I don't know. She talks about a story where someone told her that they saw, I believe it was this ad, And it made them realize that they could model as well. You know, being someone in a wheelchair, I am assuming. And her response to that was, okay, so what you're saying is that you want to be patronized.
A woman wrote to me and said, I wanted to be a model growing up, and seeing this woman made me realize that I could be one. Okay, so what you're saying there is that you want to be patronized. You want people to essentially hand out participation trophies. You're perhaps not the best person suited for this particular role, but you want people to give it to you anyways.
The idea that someone seeing a disabled model thinking, oh, I could do that too, equates to, if you achieve that, it is because people are patronizing you and giving you a participation trophy. If you watch the whole video, because I think it's important to do that, you know, get the whole context, don't just take my word for it. It is abundantly clear. She gives a lot of examples of why people shouldn't be in certain spaces. Like, short people aren't going to be in the NBA. I mean, come on, it's obvious. No one should throw a fit about that. Come on, disabled people shouldn't be models. They're not built for it. Come on, I'm not being ridiculous here. I'm just speaking the truth. Don't be mad at me for saying it. And while there are a lot of things that could be said on that point, reality is that there is actually a large need for models with disabilities, for disabled models. Many ad campaigns are now inclusive of that. There are also adaptive clothing lines, which, in fact, this was, Skims released an adaptive line that had features in their undergarments, making it easier for people with certain disabilities to get in and out of them, which she applauded, which I appreciate.
Thank you, Taylor, Lindsay, Noel. I really appreciate you explaining to me that Skims actually developed a unique technology, and that is the reason why they were promoting these ads, because it makes it easier for people that are in wheelchairs to get into a bra and underwear, and that's something to celebrate. It really is.
That was the one piece in her response video that she acknowledged that she didn't realize. This was about adaptive clothing, but the fact that she thinks it is utterly ridiculous for someone to be seated in a wheelchair modeling something, like that, for that to be allowed is just patronizing someone. It's just really sad. That's just like a really sad and ignorant perspective to take. As I said, I happen to know from personal experience and from friends who model professionally, there is a large need in the industry for talented, hardworking models with disabilities who have worked hard to get where they're going. And the reason that I keep emphasizing the hard work thing is because of comments she made later in the video.
Representation, here you go, ready? Hear me out, does not matter. Contribution does. Actual talent does. Hard work does. You're never going to find out what it is that God gifted you with if you're wasting your time demanding to be let into other people's gifts. In fact, you're ignoring the gifts when you sit back and you envy somebody else's.
Yes, hard work absolutely matters. But the fact that you prefaced all of that by suggesting, if I understand this correctly, if a disabled woman is pursuing modeling, she's neglecting the gifts God has given her because she wants to be modeling and that's not for her. However, I do very much agree with her on one point. She talks about the owner of this brand, Skims, is Kim Kardashian. And she asked the question of, do you think that Kim Kardashian actually gives a rat's ass about inclusivity or expanding the beauty standard? No. I definitely don't think so. And having worked with a number of brands, having been peripherally involved in this industry, I can tell you that sometimes the reasons why businesses choose to include disabled models is for that check mark. It's not because they actually care, it's because they want to look good. That is not every company. I have had so many positive experiences with organizations and companies and marketing campaigns that genuinely recognized the benefit and wanted to learn and grow, and also recognized that they'd be reaching a whole new market because it's a really smart business decision to market to a large group of people. Again, disabled people are not a small amount of the United States, regardless of what you think. And also, it's the only minority that you can join at any time. Anyone can become disabled at any single moment. It is something that a lot of people face. So, including representation of models from different backgrounds, you know, able-bodied and disabled, is a smart business move. Does that always mean the company actually cares about the issue at hand? No, definitely not. But in my mind, at least at this current juncture, I still think it's a very positive thing. Holy shit, dude. What were you trying to do here? You're presenting to your audience of millions of people how absurd it is to see a woman sitting in a wheelchair modeling an undergarment. What about that is ridiculous? Is that not something you relate to? Is that not something you find appealing? Is that not what you want to look at? Which seems to be the entire point. And the fact that you said this so carelessly and casually indicates that you probably are expecting your audience to agree with you. Be like, yeah, it's ridiculous. God, this inclusivity thing is just disgusting. It's ruining our country. It is just a really sad and small-minded perspective to take. I'm talking like I'm talking to Candace here, but I know in your response video, you said that you weren't ableist. The comments that you have made 100% were. That doesn't make you a horrible human being. It means that there's a lot of room to grow and learn and cease to be ignorant, and that there's a lot of room to expand how you think about this. When I say that something is ableist, I'm not saying that, that is a black mark on someone's soul that defines their entire character. No, I have ableist thoughts and tendencies that I am still working through as a disabled person. I think it is important to recognize that, like, oh yeah, damn, growing up in the society and the culture that we've grown up in, we do sort of automatically discriminate against certain groups of people, or we think certain things are bad or weird that we now have to question as we get older and learn. I do not know Candace as a person. I am familiar enough with her platform to know exactly what is happening here. She said something, it gets a reaction, she gets content out of that, she gets more content by making a response to it, she plays to her audience, and she does that very, very well. And so I don't think that this video is gonna make jack shit of a difference when it comes to what she's saying. But it was just so maddening to hear a video that was released like a week and a half ago just so casually being like, of course we don't want to see disabled people in ads, disabled people can't be models, and then to double down on that. You had a chance here. You had a chance to like listen and grow and expand, and you didn't. And that's a bummer. I haven't made a video here on YouTube, like a long form video, since December. I've been taking a break from that and still doing like the short form content. And this is not exactly the video that I expected to return with, but it just hit a nerve in me. As a disabled woman myself, with many disabled friends, it's really well understood that a chunk of society does not want us around. Like, you learn that real quick. Through comments that are made, through things people say to you. This is not a shock. Yes, I am very well aware that there are people who think that I should not be seen. I'm very well aware of the fact that, certainly even a lot of people don't think disabled people should have a right to exist. I think that's a very small fraction of society. At least I hope so. But, this whole thing is not a shock, but it is still so angering and disappointing to hear from a person who has such a massive platform and voice. All right, that's all I'm gonna say on this. I'm gonna go work some of this like anxious anger out of my system and hope that you all are doing very well. I will be back soon with longer form videos. Long form videos on YouTube are my first love. They are what I most enjoy doing. And so I have some planned coming up in the future, but I hope you're taking care of yourself. I love you guys. I'm thinking about you, and I will see you in the next video. Mwah. Bye guys.
Discapacidad Televisión.
¡Hola mundo!
Primer canal de televisión dedicado al colectivo de personas con discapacidad desde 2006.
Hola, bienvenidos a Discapacidad Televisión. Recuerda suscribirte para no perderte los últimos estrenos y programas en vivo. Danos un me gusta, y así nos ayudarás a conocerte mejor y saber qué programación es tu favorita. Por favor, no te olvides de compartir, así, más personas podrán disfrutar de Discapacidad Televisión y toda su programación. Muchas gracias.
New York City is crazy! People, cars, bikers, dogs on leashes, tourists. It's a crazy thing to see. But what if you couldn't see it? We wanted to know what it's like for over 350,000 blind or visually impaired New Yorkers. who've been experiencing New York City in a very different way than we have. This is a day in the life of a blind person in New York City. Today we're in Bed-Stuy. We're going to spend our day with Yvonne, who is a blind New Yorker. Hey, this is Alex.
I'm Alex.
Hi, how
You got
are
the
you?
camera going.
Okay, let's go.
Yvonne is a lifelong caretaker. Before she lost her vision, Yvonne raised her 3 kids and fostered around 30 more in this very house. She and her husband Faris, a limo driver, have lived here for 24 years.
I see you taking pictures of my baby.
Yeah, I'm hanging out with the lovely Yvonne today.
She's an amazing woman. I hope you can keep up with her.
Even though Yvonne lost most of her vision 16 years ago, she still learned how to cook and clean up after herself. She uses tools like her Alexa to hear the weather in the morning and her Apple Watch to make phone calls. We don't have to be anywhere until 10 a.m., but today, Yvonne got up at 5. She's an hour early for everything.
If I tried to rush, I could drop my beret. So then the panic comes, where is it? You know, so that's why you don't want to rush.
At 7:15, it's time to head into the city for a busy day.
What is it like to walk through New York City, a busy New York City street with that cane?
A lot of people don't know what this cane means. So you hit a couple people.
For pre-planned trips like this, New York City provides Access-A-Ride, which helps New Yorkers who aren't able to use public transportation get around for the price of a subway ticket. Almost every day of the week, Yvonne goes to the Vision Center right here in the Chelsea neighborhood in Manhattan. They offer a whole bunch of services for the blind and visually impaired. When you're blind, having routines is incredibly important. You can learn patterns and tricks for getting places that you know well. So before her classes at Visions, Yvonne goes to the same place for breakfast every morning.
Bacon, eggs, and cheese. Is this to go? Yes.
So by counting these grates in the sidewalk, Yvonne knows exactly how far it is to get back to the Vision Center. It's 4 grates. There's number 3. Before going blind, Yvonne was a busy New Yorker just like the rest of us. She had 2 jobs, a whole lot of people to take care of. But then one morning she woke up and couldn't see.
I was very frightened. I was crying. And then my husband took me to the doctor. And so it was one of these things where you don't even want to open your eyes because you don't want to know you can't see.
Yvonne was left completely blind in her right eye and only has very little vision in her left eye.
I just stayed in the bed. I was very depressed. I got into a depression.
As Yvonne's vision left, so did her sense of purpose. She believed she'd never again be able to do the things she loved. But at Visions, she found a community that helped her adapt and thrive. She learned tools for mobility, household tips, useful skills like Braille.
She gets on me because I don't practice enough.
And joined a community of hundreds of people experiencing New York without vision.
Hi, I'm good. That's Francine? Yeah. Okay. It was like just a new family. So I just started coming alive.
She learned she was far more capable than she believed. And pretty soon, Yvonne became a teacher for other visually impaired students.
What's going on?
All right,
now?
it's 10 a.m. Students are filing in. It is about time to get started with dance class and aerobics class.
And today, we're gonna put on this blindfold so we can have the slightest idea of what it's like to be blind, starting with dance and aerobics class.
Is that right?
Okay, so right now Yvonne is leading this class. Brian is taking it. He's blindfolded, and it's an interesting thing to watch Brian because he's doing his best, but if he gets disoriented at all, he just has no idea where he is. Brian, turn 90 degrees to your right. There you go.
It was scary. It was lonely. I felt very disconnected from the world around me.
I want to see some moving.
And there was something amazing about when we all started using the rattles. When I couldn't see, they were a lifeline. They were telling me, hey, I'm surrounded by people and we're all listening to the same music. Now I'm using my other senses to understand that I am still connected to this world.
At 2:30, Yvonne leads a class called Exploring Chelsea.
Every week we go to a different place to see what's around the Chelsea area.
Today is ice cream day, which is amazing if Alex can get there. It's his turn to try out the blindfold on the crazy streets of Manhattan.
I just feel like I'm gonna fall through a manhole or crash into a window or a person or step in poop.
Just go totally straight.
I don't know what straight is.
You're doing it. There's a pole. My bad.
Jesus. Ryan.
There's a bike lane.
God.
I'm trying. Your next step is a curve.
Jesus.
Okay.
That was really scary. This is all really scary for me right now.
Okay. Alex, put your hand there.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, now what do I do?
Okay, now you have ice cream in your hand.
Yay.
You know what to do from here. How well do you feel like you know Chelsea?
I don't know Chelsea. That's why I developed this class, so I could get out.
So I'll just sit here, be here with my thoughts of what the heck's happening around me. That's pretty much all I'm thinking about. What is happening around me and where are things happening?
For the way back, Yvonne offers Alex her cane.
Can you hear the traffic on your right side?
No, yeah, cross us. Yeah.
That means you can't cross.
Right. Yeah.
It took me a little bit to say I'm blind because that's not where I wanted to be. I learned by accepting my disability is better.
I imagine once you said, okay, this is what it is, and you said, I got to do my best here.
Yes.
What do you remember about the Malibu Diner?
Well, I remember it has a green blue awning, but I can't see that right now.
Okay, it's purple.
And there's 4 basement covers until Visions. 2.
Oh, that's 3.
Let's hit 4.
That's 4.
Wow, that was a journey.
Right?
Yeah, that was a journey. There was a lot of anxiety and fear in that, and Yvonne was a very calming guide and teacher. She was like a Yoda.
Being blind is really tough, but it hasn't stopped Yvonne and 350,000 other New Yorkers from learning, from living, from taking care of people, from being New Yorkers, just like the rest of us.
I don't want no one to hinder me to say that what I cannot do.
Yvonne said her biggest thing that this has given her is courage to go out in the world and to face those fears, because when she's out there and she's crossing the street, those fears aren't gone. It's just that she's developed the courage to deal with that.
When I help other people, it gives me more courage to go on and do more for myself. You know, they don't know it, but other people encourage me. I see them dealing with their problem to the best of their ability, and that's what I try to do, just to help people, and it helps me. I'm Yvonne, and this is the day of my life. Rally on!
Si decidieras quitarme todo e incluso no amarme más, si decidieras no perdonarme ni cuidarme, si decidieras no proveer hasta dejar de protegerme, sería yo capaz de amarte igual. Si no vinieras a dar tu vida y darle un rumbo a la mía, si te aferraras a tu grandeza siendo Dios, si no me dieras lo que te pido hasta dejarme en el olvido, sería yo capaz de amarte igual. Desde ya quiero que el mundo sepa que no te busco por conveniencia. Si estoy aquí no es coincidencia, pues eres dueño de mi existencia y yo te amo. Sin entenderlo, pero yo te amo. No se trata de lo que me das ni de lo que haces. Y yo te
Con ustedes, el video Piensa Diferente.
¿Por qué me tratas así? No entiendo. ¿Por qué me miras así? No estoy muerto. ¿Por qué siempre preguntas si seré capaz? Los tiempos están cambiando. Hace rato que seguimos luchando. No soy un extraterrestre, soy tu amigo aquí presente. Algo en vos tiene que cambiar. Tu indecisión de confiar en los demás. Piensa siempre en igualdad. Danos la oportunidad, que nosotros también podemos y queremos progresar. Piensa siempre en igualdad. Danos la oportunidad. Somos personas con discapacidad. ¿Por qué me tratas así? No entiendo. ¿Por qué me miras así? No estoy muerto. ¿Por qué siempre preguntas si seré capaz? Los tiempos están cambiando. Hace rato seguimos luchando. No soy un extraterrestre, soy tu amigo aquí presente. Algo en vos tiene que cambiar. Tu indecisión de confiar en los demás. Piensa siempre en igualdad. Danos la oportunidad, que nosotros también podemos y queremos progresar. Piensa siempre en igualdad. Danos la oportunidad. Somos personas con discapacidad. Piensa en igualdad. La oportunidad, que nosotros también podemos y queremos progresar. Piensa en igualdad. La oportunidad. Somos personas. Piensa siempre en igualdad. Danos la oportunidad, que nosotros también podemos y queremos progresar. Piensa siempre en igualdad. Danos la oportunidad. Somos personas con discapacidad.
Os vamos a contar una historia, la historia de Yara, Mario, Luca, Yaiza, Elia, Dani y de muchos otros niños y niñas que acudimos a la ludoteca inclusiva del Centro de Atención Infantil y Juvenil de APAM.
Aquí nuestro objetivo es jugar y sobre todo hacerlo con lo que queramos y entre nosotros. Lo que pasa que a veces parece que estamos jugando al teléfono estropeado y no nos entendemos entre nosotros. Y menudo lío se crea cuando jugamos.
No tiene gafas.
¿Es una bicicleta?
Sí. No te entiendo. No entiendo.
Ya sé.
¿Soy un instrumento? Sí, soy un instrumento. ¿Es de madera?
¿Tiene coleta?
Soy un tambor.
Sí. Y en otras ocasiones los juguetes temen por su vida.
Tengo una idea.
Hola, capo, ¿cómo estás? Es hora de una fiesta loca.
No son fiestitas infantiles, son fiestas, bailes, el boliche, como le dicen ellos, donde cada uno tiene su lugar y su espacio y su momento.
Es una fiesta con personas con discapacidad.
Y son para bailar, coda. Hace un montón que bailo acá en la fiesta Kiki y me siento muy feliz y de estar acá con todos mis amigos.
Mi nombre es Tamara Garzón, soy la creadora de esta maravillosa fiesta, la fiesta Kiki, que es una fiesta para personas con discapacidad, cuyo objetivo es escaparle a la infantilización de la discapacidad y darles a ellos y a ellas la fiesta que se merecen. Esta idea nació en pandemia. Yo tengo una escuela de teatro musical para personas con discapacidad, que surgió también a partir de tener a dos hermanos con síndrome de Down. Empezó en pandemia por Zoom, porque los padres me decían, estoy desesperado, necesito que mis hijos bailen, y a mí se me ocurrió y me dije, les armo un Zoom, y la verdad es que vi que se copaban, pero mal, cada uno se armaba su propio boliche en su casa, incluida yo, y nos hizo muy bien, nos acompañó durante toda la pandemia, y a partir de ese fiestón que se armó en la pandemia, es que también surgió la idea de traerla a la presencialidad cuando se habilitó todo.
Soy la mamá de María Josefina, me llamo Viviana. Josefina tiene 22 años y es su espacio, su lugar, su momento. Viene feliz, espera que sea el fin de semana para venir a la fiesta Kiki. No hay muchos lugares como para que uno esté tranquilo de que ellos estén disfrutando.
Yo soy el papá de Candela, Federico. Mi hija Candela tiene 21 años y está viniendo en las fiestas Kiki desde hace casi 2 años. Me gusta a mí porque tiene un espacio para ella.
Y me di cuenta que era realmente algo que faltaba, y cada vez estamos haciendo que crezca más y que le llegue realmente a toda la gente, porque hay mucha gente que desconoce de esta posibilidad.
Imagine la vida en un mundo sin luz, formas ni color.
Así vivo yo. Mi nombre es Enrique Alberto Bustos Garay y tengo discapacidad visual desde los 17 años.
Un accidente y el desprendimiento de retina lo dejaron invidente, pero nada lo detuvo. Logró ser comunicador, locutor, cantante y constituyó su empresa, pues para él no hay imposibles. A sus 63 años sabe que las barreras son las que generan discapacidad.
Si me dan un bastón guía como este, si el transporte es accesible, si cuento con un piso podotáctil, no tengo discapacidad.
La indiferencia es lo que golpea la dignidad de los más de 3 millones de personas con discapacidad en el país. Actitudes como la de algunos malos conductores que no respetan su pase gratuito en el transporte público.
Desconocen y al uno presentar el carnet amarillo te dicen, ¿qué es eso? Paga tu pasaje. Le digo, este es lo que me permite el pase. Le digo, no, paga tu pasaje si no te bajas.
Con un bastón guía, Enrique Bustos recorre de memoria la salida de su vivienda, pero su paso se vuelve inseguro en la vía pública, frente a una pista o en espera del transporte.
Necesitamos que usted, señor alcalde, haga respetar la ley y nuestro derecho que tenemos más de 3 millones de personas a contar con un transporte totalmente accesible, inclusivo y sin barreras.
Cruzar una calle le tomará a usted unos segundos. Para él es jugarse la vida a diario. Seamos solidarios y hagamos respetar en los buses y micros el carnet amarillo que ellos portan. El Ministerio de Transportes y Comunicaciones exhorta a los conductores a cumplir la norma.
En este mes de octubre, mes de la persona con discapacidad, por favor, amigo transportista, respeta este carnet.
Don Enrique nos recuerda que la discapacidad no debe generar lástima, sino respeto a los derechos humanos.
Diversidad es México. Personas con discapacidad. En México hay cerca de 6.180.000 personas con discapacidad, lo que representa el 4.9% de la población total, siendo la mayoría mujeres, con el 53%, y hombres, el 47% restante. El INEGI identifica a las personas con discapacidad como aquellas que tienen dificultad para llevar a cabo actividades consideradas básicas. Las más comunes son caminar, 48%, ver, 44%, oír, 22%, bañarse, vestirse o comer, 19%, recordar o concentrarse, 19%, y hablar o comunicarse, 15%. Aunado a ello, la discriminación es un aspecto que también sufren las personas con discapacidad, ya que 1 de cada 4 personas la ha padecido. Y según la Encuesta Nacional sobre Discriminación, ENADIS 2017, las principales problemáticas que enfrentan son calles, instalaciones y transportes públicos inadecuados, 31.1%, falta de oportunidad para encontrar empleo, 30%, costo en cuidados, terapias y tratamientos, 21.5%. Este grupo de la población también enfrenta condiciones pronunciadas de exclusión. De acuerdo con resultados del ENADIS 2017, de las personas de 18 años o más encuestadas, el 25.4% de los hombres y 23.8% de las mujeres creen que las personas con discapacidad son de poca ayuda en el trabajo. Por ello, es fundamental la promoción y protección de sus derechos humanos para lograr su plena inclusión en la sociedad y puedan desarrollarse en condiciones de igualdad y dignidad. Todas y todos debemos respetar los derechos de las personas con discapacidad. Diversidad es México. Comisión Nacional de los Derechos Humanos. Defendemos al pueblo.
En el nuevo paradigma de la educación inclusiva no cabe la educación especial. Las estructuras educativas especiales han de migrar en un periodo razonable, no se puede hacer todo de la noche a la mañana, hacia estructuras y prácticas plenamente inclusivas para todo el alumnado, sin distinciones ni acepciones.
La Convención Internacional sobre los Derechos de las Personas con Discapacidad de la ONU de 2006 marca el punto de partida de la polémica por el cierre de los colegios de educación especial. El valor de la inclusión educativa es incuestionable y desde la educación especial se desarrollan multitud de procesos innovadores para asegurar esas oportunidades para alumnos con discapacidad.
No es admisible por más tiempo la segregación educativa por razón de discapacidad. Es un imperativo jurídico internacional de derechos humanos comprometido por España con la comunidad internacional y con el sistema de Naciones Unidas. En el caso de la discapacidad parece que forma parte del paisaje, que se acepta con naturalidad y que no provoca especial escándalo, pero no deja de ser una segregación por razón de una diferencia. Se trata de una violación grave de derechos humanos. Proponemos que en el plazo de 5 años desde que se adopte tendríamos ese lapso para migrar de estructuras no inclusivas a estructuras inclusivas. Que no se creen ni se pongan en servicio más centros de educación especial y que no se admitan más alumnos con discapacidad en los centros especiales, deberían ser declarados a extinguir, que subsistan hasta su completa desaparición.
Hola, bienvenidos a Discapacidad Televisión. Recuerda suscribirte para no perderte los últimos estrenos y programas en vivo. Danos un me gusta, y así nos ayudarás a conocerte mejor, y saber qué programación es tu favorita. Por favor, no te olvides de compartir, así, más personas podrán disfrutar de Discapacidad Televisión y toda su programación. Muchas gracias. Discapacidad Televisión.
¡Hola mundo!
Primer canal de televisión dedicado al colectivo de personas con discapacidad desde 2006.